Hello, this is a recap of a German movie called Look Who's Back 2015. The beginning of the movie is set somewhere during the Second World War in Berlin. The Führer Hitler is with a behavior coach named Kippel. Hitler expressed his disagreement with the gesture of people's greeting to Kippel. He complains that though the Nazi salute is out-fashioned, people need to at least raise their hand up to the wrist and show respect. Then he narrates that he has done everything possible by a human to destroy the foundation of the enemy who distract their soil. He finds German existence incomprehensible and finds it alarming that he is here too. In the following scene, he wakes up on the ground somewhere in a forest while looking up to the sky. He sees that the enemy aircraft are missing and guesses that they might have taken some rest. Suddenly, a bull comes bouncing towards him and stops just at his side. He raises himself and heads towards the building past the bush. He is then approached by three young kids who question him if he is okay. Hitler looks at them and thinks that they are the future of the nation. He then asks them the way to the street. In that instant, a reporter, Fabian Sowatsky, is filming the kids on his camera. Hitler is seen on the far side of the screen. He picks up his army cap and says to himself that he should go to the Führer bunker. Hitler gets to the street and gets amazed at people riding monowheel bikes. He finds people capturing him in their camera and expresses that though the rubble when people have gone mad. Then he fills a modern car by his hand and questions himself if he fell in a coma and missed the victory. He realizes that he is not aware of his situation totally and alerts himself to collect more information. Then he asks a man about the location of Chancellery, but the person instead asks him for a picture. He gets disturbed by the camera's flashes as people come near him and take photos in turn, confused by the unusual events around him. He concludes something went out of hand in the place. As Hitler walks away, he finds a woman speaking in German in her phone. He comes closer and asks her about the certain date, but the woman gets terrified and sprays his eyes. Hitler cries in pain as his eyes get reddish and his vision gets blurred. He stumbles and walks to the newspaper shop nearby. He gets shocked to see the date October 3rd, 2014 written on the paper and falls to the ground at once. Somewhere else, the boss of a TV station, Corner, praises Mr. Christoph since Brink for his excellent job as deputy's head. He proposes a higher solution but instead announces another worker named Miss Katia Pellini as the managing director. Due to this, Christoph gets shocked and dissatisfied. He comes to his office and vents his anger out of struggling filmmaker named Fabian. Despite Fabian's best attempts to convince his boss, he gets fired and thrown out by the guard. Sometime later, Hitler wakes up at the news shop and asks the owner about the date. He confirms that it is in fact 2014. A confused Hitler questions if the shopkeeper has kidnapped him and suspects if it is this a trick play of the enemy secret service. He threatens to kill the shopkeeper if he is working for the enemy, but the shopkeeper gives him a bar of chocolate instead. Hitler's opens it after a quiet struggle and sniffs it. He declares it as industrially pressed grain and questions the shopkeeper if there is still a shortage of bread. The shopkeeper asks Hitler if they are filming a documentary somewhere nearby, mistaking him for an actor. The shopkeeper then says that he looks exactly like the Führer, to which Hitler replies that he is the Führer. After that, Hitler sees the Turkish newspaper and asks if their shopkeeper has Trümmer or Benz bar. The shopkeeper says that he has more Turkish customers. Hitler gets astonished of the presence of Turkish people in Berlin. He then starts collecting information from the newspaper. While reading it, he assumes that he didn't win the war in the past, and Germany was given to the hands of clumsy women having the charisma of a wet noodle. He further laments the existence of Poland and concludes the war to be a total waste. Meanwhile, Fabian looks up in his video reporting about soccer and soups, sad at the fact that he was fired. His mother claims him and asks him to pause the video. Noticing Hitler behind, Fabian is amused at the discovery of a person who looks so similar to Hitler. Back in the shop, the shopkeeper asks Hitler to keep the newspaper aside and stand outside. Hitler Hitler guards are being asked to work. The shopkeeper suggests Hitler clean his clothes, for they are stinking. He then goes to a laundry place and asks them to clean his uniform. Hitler asks if they have another uniform since they can't walk away naked. Next, we see Hitler walking to the news seller with jeans and a sweater on. Pippin, on the other hand, has somehow managed to find him and is waiting for him in the shop. After getting a look at Hitler, he is amazed at his appearance. Pippin asks Hitler if he can film him as he marches through modern Germany. Hitler agrees with the idea. Pippin takes up some cash and a car from his mother and starts his journey with Hitler. The two end up in a hotel where Hitler gets amused at seeing the television. He then decided to talk about politics in Pippin's presentation. He goes to places ask people regarding their views on politics. After the interview, he finds that there were minimal impact of democracy upon people during his absence. He impacts discounts and suppressed anger in people, which remind him of the 1930s when people had similar views but lacked the term political discouragement. People tell Hitler about the problem of immigrants in the country, making Hitler push his idea that mixing the race doesn't work. Later, Pippin asks Hitler the source of his unique mustache. Hitler replies that he cut his mustache to the shape to fit a gas mask. A while later, the two end up in a farm where Hitler gets bit by a dog. He is angry and shot at the animal. Pippin scolds him and seizes the gun. As the tour goes on, Pippin eventually runs out of cash, but he thinks of a plan and to convince the passers-by to have their sketches drawn by Hitler. Hitler draws sarcastic picture which people find funny and buy for it. They contain their trip after collecting enough money. Back in town, Pippin shows a clip of Hitler to Christoph. The video has a lot of views as Pippin had uploaded it on the internet. Christoph is impressed by the large number of views in the video. He asks Pippin for Hitler's name and the contact number. After meeting him, Christoph suspects Hitler to be a lunatic and asks Pippin to take him away from the office. Before leaving, Hitler enters the director's office and asks her to save Germany together with him. Interested at the idea, Bellini asks him about the plan. She quickly asks her assistant to prepare a proper TV format for broadcasting the furor on listening to Hitler's idea. Pippin then threatens Christoph to give him his job back or else he will take Hitler away. On hearing this, Christoph makes him a kitchen boy, promising to promote him when a new editorial post opens. Sometime later, Hitler is given a table in the TV studio. Christoph calls for Kramer to help Hitler with computer use. Hitler recalls the computer of his days and labels the invention to be one of the greatest. Kramer tries to sign up Hitler to mail, but informs him that his name is already taken. Hitler grants for others stealing his name and tells her to use New Reich's cancellery as he liked it. Christoph plans to put Hitler on a live comedy show called Who Dude is still slutty because Bellini gets a promotion instead of him and intends to create trouble for her. He instead to bring criticism to the debate through sarcastic joke and juice and throw out Hitler. The show starts and Vic Sigmund, the host, calls for Hitler on the stage. The audience gossip about Hitler's appearance, but when Hitler gazes at the audience, the hall gets completely silent. Hitler soon breaks the silence but doesn't read out the line as scripted. He explains that he is to tell a joke about immigrants, but he is not going to do so. He says that a TV is a great invention of the human, but the show's broadcasts are insensate. He sheds light on problems like poverty and unemployment and forecasts that the people of the country are heading towards the abyss without noticing it. Hitler vows to fight against the TV not only up to the broadcast of the abyss but also until he succeeds in overcoming them. Everyone likes the idea and claps for him. Seeing Hitler's popularity, the host Witzigmann get envious. Bellini asks Christoph to broadcast Hitler in every show. Christoph is distressed because of the failure of his plan. In the following scene, we see Hitler giving interviews in numerous TV shows and shares that his motive is to make Germany great again. His popularity grows immensely and he meets several people and party leaders. He starts charming them all by the sheer sharing his idea. One day, Hitler and Fabian visit NPD headquarters in Berlin. He calls for Ulf Berin, the federal chairman of NPD, and asks him what his cause has achieved so far. Hitler battalions him and says that they have wasted enough time, and the movement is taken aback by decade due to their words. Christoph gets excited and happy when the cops and direct's attorney DA appears at the TV studio. They explain that they are here for a compliment of charging violation of hate laws. Bellini asks what they are to do then. Quickly, Christoph pops that they might need to cancel the Führer show. The DA says that they can keep the broadcasting on. Bellini takes a sigh of relief while Christoph fixes his smile. After the DA leaves, Kromayer hands over a letter to Christoph stating the payment of the dog which Hitler has shot earlier in his trip. Christoph receives the letter happily, believing it might be a way to cause trouble. Next, Hitler is put to a TV program where he is asked direct question about his different roles in the war. Hitler responds that he wants to reach out to people, but the interview tells him that all his deeds can't be justified. He shows him the clip of him shooting the dog. The video disturbs the audience. Hitler is angered and threatens him that he would do the same to him. The Führer says that he will turn their studio into a parking lot of tanks. Christoph gets happier seeing people negative response. After the disaster interview, Bellini is fired and Christoph is appointed as the new manager. After that, Hitler goes to Fabian's house and starts living with him. He expresses amusement at the path taken by destiny and starts to write his second book. The book soon hits the market. 3 months later, at the TV studio, everyone sits in a meeting where the massive loss that the company has gone through is discussed. Christoph believes that which segment show will put them on track, but one employee informs him that he has quit his job. Christoph gets tense and gets mad at the selected employees for losing the show. One of the staff suggests getting Hitler back, which interests Christoph. He looks for Hitler again and offers Fabian that he will invest $1 million in the film that Fabian and Hitler are shooting if they in return let them broadcast the movie on their TV. Hitler and Fabian come to Kromayer house where Kromayer grandmother identifies Hitler. She claims that Hitler gassed all the people up and killed them. She calls him a criminal and shouts him to get out. In the car, Hitler shares that he is surprised at Kromayer being a Jew. He starts to belittle Jews, calling them less of humans. Fabian gets disappointment at Hitler's action and his words. Back in the seat, Fabian gets Hitler to reply how he got to the place. He asks Hitler what happened before the ball comes rolling to him in the woods, but Hitler can't remember it. Later at night, he walks out of the seat and is surrounded by some thugs. They call him the reason to take Germany back and give him a hard blow on his face. As Hitler opens his eyes, he finds himself in a hospital in front of Bellini. At the same time, Bellini looks over the footage of the video he captured about the boys and soccer. He looks closely at it and finds Hitler roses from where he was lying. Fabian gets amazed at what happened before it. He quickly goes to the place and finds a board at the location stating the historical location of Führer bunker. Fabian rushes to the hospital but doesn't find Hitler. Bellini says that he is headed to the shouting sea. Fabian reveals that he is the real Adolf Hitler, but Bellini doesn't believe him. Fabian acts mad and tries to explain his theory hysterically. The guards try to catch him, but he flees. Fabian then reaches the seat and aims a gun at Hitler when asked about his identity. Hitler explains that he never claimed to be anyone else. Fabian says that Hitler is fooling people with his propaganda, to which Hitler replies that people elected a leader who shared his wild idea openly in 1933. Fabian takes Hitler to the top of a building with his gun. He corners Hitler and declares him to be a monster. Hitler, in turn, claps back saying that ordinary people elected an extraordinary man and entrusted the fate of the country to him. He explains that people choose him because they bear the same values in their inner hearts. Enraged, Fabian shoots Hitler, making him fall down the building onto the street. Soon, Fabian hears Hitler's voice, who says that on German can get rid of him, and Hitler, who was just thrown down, appears right behind behind it again. Just then, Bellini calls for a cut in the studio, and everyone cheers for the shot. Turns out that it was just a film shoot and a random actor was playing the role of Fabian. Hitler then asks everyone to remember the comrades who could not be with them somewhere else. Kromeyer is so being seen Fabian through a hole in the mental ward. Hitler and Bellini are busy giving autographs and interviews to people after the film booms. As they pass by a car, the people on the street seem fond of Hitler and greet him with respect.